Hi, it's Mr. Cunningham here, talking to you from my man cave. You will soon be completing your studies in Innovate, and you may be wondering what happens next. Well, you have some choices about what subjects to follow next. We offer 4 subjects in Innovate. They are Admin and IT, Business Management, Computing Science, and Engineering Science. In this presentation, your teachers will explain what's involved in each subject.
Hi, I'm Miss Gibson and I teach both admin and IT and business management within the department. So what is admin and IT? What is it you do within the subject? At the forefront, it's about developing your IT skills that can be used in a business environment. So what we mean by that is like a workplace. Most jobs nowadays require you to use some form of IT, and the more skills that you bring to the workplace, it just makes you look like a more attractive employee to hire, and it should make your job easier as well. So there will be some of the programmes that you have already experienced throughout your Innovate journey, and we are just looking at developing those skills even further and then having a look at all the other existing software on a PC. So we've got word processing, which is like your Microsoft Word. We also have a look at spreadsheets, databases, emails, e-diaries and your presentation software as well. Within the subject, we do have some theory, and it's where we look at legislation, so laws that businesses need to follow, and this is to protect their customers, their employees and the employers themselves. So we have a look at health and safety, we have a look at data protection and a few other pieces of legislation that are key to a business. Other subtopics that we have a look at involve customer care, so looking after your customers in the workplace, file management, so how do you sort your files that then makes you more efficient and more organised, corporate image, organising events, and then much more as well. So we're a really varied subject where you will find a lot of interesting information and you will learn a lot of new skills. So who is admin and IT for? You might be someone who already has a keen interest in IT. This might be from your Innovate journey, or it could be hobbies in your personal life as well. Our subject is predominantly on machines, so this might be something that appeals to you. You might be someone who enjoys problem solving, and that is fundamental to what we do in the classroom. We use spreadsheets, we use databases, we use Microsoft Word, even for something as simple as you're given information. How do you present it in an effective way? You would insert a table into Word. Like, it's all problem solving, and this again might be something that appeals to you. It might be that you're just looking to develop your IT skills, and this could be for the future. It could be where you're going on to further education, so maybe universities, maybe colleges, or for in the workplace. Like I said at the beginning, most workplaces nowadays require you to use IT in some shape or form, and if you've already got these basic skills, it really does stand you in good stead for going forward. We also have the advantage as a subject that these skills that you learn, these will stick with you through life, and not every subject can say that. So what about exams? How are you assessed within the admin and IT course? We do complete continuous assessment throughout the course. This is when we start a new topic, so maybe we'll look at spreadsheets, and we would assess you throughout just to make sure that you are picking up the skills. There is an assignment that you will sit, and that's worth 42%. You will then have a final exam worth 58%, and both the assignment and the exam are completed on a computer. So if you are someone that maybe doesn't enjoy handwriting, maybe they have messy writing, you don't need to worry about it in this subject. We are completing all our examinations on a computer. What are the hard parts of admin and IT? Now this is coming from our current National 5, so we've asked them, what did you find tricky about the course? And they've said to us, the spreadsheet formulas. There is quite a few formulas that are used in spreadsheets, but it might not be hard for you. That's just some of the pupils have said that they find that quite challenging. Database queries. So a query is where you're trying to find certain information, and at times you do have to narrow down maybe a large database, or you've got certain criteria that you need to follow. So it can be challenging, but with practice you will get better at our queries. And we've got integrating data into a document as well. So that could be in a few different forms, but you will be getting plenty of practice in the classroom. And even though these are the hard parts that some students have found, that is not to say that all pupils will find this challenging at all.
Okay, let's have a look at N5, computing science. What do we do in computing science as a subject? Well, lots of interesting things. We learn, first of all, how computers work. So we look at what's inside computers, the actual hardware that's in them. There's a picture of a motherboard, and we look at all the different parts that connect to that, and what goes on inside a computer. And of course, things like our phones. Okay, that's a really powerful computer, a little computer there, and it's all the same sorts of things that go in that go into a normal computer, just shrunken and miniaturized, really. We also look at how the internet works. Okay, so we look at how data travels about the internet, how it's moved, how it's routed about, and different parts, what goes on with that. We look at hacking and security, very, very important thing these days, very, very important in all our lives. There's lots of hacking, security is a big issue, and there's a lot of money to be made in security as well. Some of the most highly paid jobs are in computer security. We look at the legal side of computing, so what laws there are that relate to computing, and how those will apply to different things, and how we can break those laws, and how actually you may have broken some of those laws already in your life unwittingly, and so we look at that. We will also program computers how to do things, so we do computer programming, so we get computers to actually do things that we want. Okay, and that's a process where we actually give instructions, we get to do different things, and we'll often get to do different things depending upon what the user does, what the user actually says, and what they enter. And part of that process, of course, is designing how your programs, your apps actually look. Okay, so we look at what we call the interface, which is what you see, what the interface looks like, how we design it, what's good design, what's not such good design, how we can design it properly, different ways that we can do that, and we think about that. And we also do that, we do computing projects, so there's a lot, as you'd expect, there's a lot of practical work, a lot of work on the computers. It's not just listening to me or a teacher the whole time. There's a lot of work on the computers where you will be, either making web pages or writing programs, or doing these sorts of things, databases. Who is it for? Well, really it's for anyone who enjoys working with computers. Okay, that's probably fairly clearly prerequisite that you need to like working with computers if you want to do computing science. It's good if you're interested in how things work. People that are good at computing tend to be people that are thinking, well, how does that work? Why does that work like that? What's going on with that? So maybe you're somebody that likes taking things apart, or you're somebody that likes understanding what's going on with machines, or how things work, or that sort of thing. And if that's you, then computing is often something that interests people. You like solving problems as well, so if you like puzzles, you're good at puzzles, you enjoy doing them, you enjoy the challenge of thinking, right, well that didn't work, let me try this next time, and then you're solving problems, and we do that a lot in programming and things like that. And in terms of your career, somebody who maybe is interested in a career, I mentioned security already, cyber security, huge industry at the moment, lots and lots of jobs there, lots and lots of money to be made in there. IT support, so if you're somebody who would like to help people maintain computer systems, computer networks, or if you're somebody that wants to develop computer networks or computer software programs, these sorts of things, or manage networks, any of these careers, anything to do with computing, computing science is obviously going to be really helpful in that regard. So what about exams? Well, throughout the course, throughout the 2 years, there'll be continuous assessments. We'll be doing tests and project work and things that will be basically using to get some results from you. And there's an assignment that's worth 31% of the final mark. And so you will do that in class. It's work that is open book, so you can use your notes, you can use the internet, that sort of thing, and that counts for 31% in the final mark. And then the final exam is worth 69%. So that's where the sort of breakdown there is. So hard parts, what do people say the hard parts are? Well, couple of parts really, couple of bits of the things that people tend to say that are the most difficult. Designing programs can be a bit of a challenge, thinking about how you will actually structure a program, what code will go where, and then actually getting onto it, programming it, and something we call debugging. And debugging is when you've got a problem, your code's not working, your program's not working exactly the way you want it, and you're having to find out what the problem is, and you're actually then sort of troubleshooting it. And that's why, as I said before, it's people that are like problem solving, like puzzles, like finding out how things work and making them work when maybe initially they didn't, but those sorts of people tend to get on well with it. So those are the sort of harder bits in it.
And on to business management. How do we feel about taking business management? So a little bit of information for you. What kind of things we cover, what will you be doing as you go through the course? So firstly, we will be taking what we looked at over Innovate in first and second year and looking at your enterprise skills, but developing these even further. You will learn about how a business would satisfy the needs and wants of customers. That's the whole basis of business, customers' needs and wants, and how they are able to satisfy these. You will get an understanding of how current businesses operate. So this is very useful for you if you're going to set up your own business. Good skills to have. But also we look at understanding how the different 4 functional areas operate. So we have HR, that's looking after your staff, or if you're a staff member, being looked after. The finance, to do with the money. Operations, the actual production of your product or service. And marketing, how do you find out what your customers want and how do you get your customers interested in having your product. So again, from that, what I would take is if you want to set up your own business, both of these things are very, very useful because we'll show you how to set up a business and what types of business exist, and also looking at the different departmental areas that you would have to be looking after. But also, if you're wanting to go in and work in a business, you'll get a good insight into that as well. And what you'll find when we're looking at these operational areas, it is quite a difference between HR, finance, operations and marketing, that you might have a particular passion for one area and that's where you want to take your career further. So going on to university, going on to the workplace, as I say, you might have a love of HR, a passion for HR, that's the one you would choose to go on to. But it'll give you a good insight of them all. Right, on to what kind of people are we looking for to take this subject? Who does it suit? Right, so anyone who has a passion for the business world. So again, if you've enjoyed the subject area over Innovate in the last 2 years, I like to see passion for it. Do you enjoy watching programs like Dragon's Den and The Apprentice? Do you enjoy watching the news, reading newspapers, finding out about what's going on in the business world? The great thing about business is it's absolutely relevant, up to date. We need people to be interested and keeping up with that. We have a mix of theory and practical. Now, I will warn you now, there is a heck of a lot of theory there, a it's a lot of content in the course, but we are able to mix it up with a lot of practical work so you get experience of what it would actually be like in a real life business situation. And looking back at that entrepreneurial flair, that's what I always look for. Again, the interest, the passion in business. Right, what about the actual assessment exams? That's what you'll want to know. So of course there's continuous assessment throughout the whole course. That could be very informally, like we'll do little quizzes at the beginning of a lesson to see how you've picked up content from the previous lesson, little quizzes at the end, little mini tests, that kind of thing. Also, we will have for each unit, you will have a more formal test that will be kept and recorded down there. In terms of what the SQA are actually looking for, two parts to it. Firstly, an assignment that is worth 25% of your final grade. Now, the assignment, what happens with that is, again, looking at real life business situations. You will actually pick a business, do a wee bit of investigation into a particular area of that business. So, for example, looking at the customer care of Greggs, or looking at how the marketing mix is applied to your local hairdresser. So you look in, investigate, apply your knowledge that's sat in school, completed in school, but sent away to the SQA for marking. It's out of 30 marks, but imagine that you could have these 30 marks, or as close to 30 marks, in the bag before going into your exam if you listen to your instructions, if you put in the hard work and complete that and get it sent away on time. In addition to that, there will be a final exam which is worth 75%, making it up obviously to the 100%, a final exam that you would sit under exam conditions, and that covers the whole course content. It's split into two sections of 2 case studies that you would look at and answer questions on, and then there are a set of questions again that could cover anything in the course. Right, what are the hard parts of the course? So firstly, one that always comes up is the finance and the interpretation of basic accounts. I think when people hear the word finance linked to maths, that just puts them off. Well, the good news for that is that you don't need overly advanced mathematical skills to be able to do that part of the course. Basics would be good to have, but it's more looking at and analysing the different financial accounts. So basic of maths I would be liking you to have at this point. Now this one, the correct application of command words. So I'm saying there so many times about the flair and the passion for business, and that's fantastic if you have that. That will make sure that you enjoy the course. It'll make sure that you pick up the theory a lot more easily. But when it comes down to it, we still have to pass tests, we still have to pass exams, and this is where the dreaded command words come in business. But that's my job as a teacher, to ensure you know what these command words are, you know how to apply these command words, you listen to me, you pay attention, you put in the hard work, you bring me your flair, and that would make you an ideal business candidate.
Engineering sides. What do you do? Well, first of all, you'll learn what real engineers do. You'll learn about mechanical engineers, electrical and electronic engineers, civil engineers, chemical engineers, environmental engineers. You'll learn about all these different engineering disciplines, how they relate to one another, and how they are unique. You will learn about solving practical problems. You will learn about these topics: electronics, pneumatics, gears, motors and programming. Take a look at this robotic arm, which is up the top right of your screen. This will use all of these technologies: electronics and pneumatics, gears, motors and programming. The pneumatics will control the movement of parts of the arm. The electronics will sense the movement, and the gears in the motors will allow even further movement. And the programming will control everything. You'll also learn to build your own electronic and pneumatic circuits and mechanical systems. You'll run computer simulations where you get to test out your own ideas of circuits before you try them out. And this is very important, you will calculate answers using formulas. Engineers use maths to work things out. It's very important as an engineer that you know what size something needs to be. So for example, if you're building a new bridge, you have to decide how big does the structure need to be, how deep does the foundations need to be, how thick do the cables need to be in order to support the weight of all the traffic. So we need to be able to use maths to work things out. We also will be doing practical projects, which I'm sure you'll enjoy doing. So who is engineering science for? Well, it's for anyone, or at least it's for anyone who is interested in how things work, would like to use maths to solve problems, and who enjoys solving practical problems. Now, if this sounds like you, this could be a great subject for you to choose. Now you might wonder, how am I going to be assessed? What about exams and that sort of thing? Well, in engineering science you'll have continuous assessments throughout the course. So that means that you'll get regular homework, that you'll get class tests as well. And then you will sit an assignment, which is a bit of practical work that you do over a period of a month and then write up as you go along. And then you'll also do a final exam. Now, the assignment is worth 31% of your overall grade, and your final exam is worth 69% of your overall grade. So, if you do well in your assignment, which you would complete in school, then it means that when you come to sit your exam, you've got a wee bit of a safety net. Before you start a new course, it's always good to find out as much as you can. So, what are the hard parts of engineering science? Well, we asked our fourth year pupils a year or so back to tell us the things that they found tricky. And they gave us three main things. They said beam calculations were difficult, electronic circuit calculations were tricky, and describing circuits were sometimes a difficult thing to do. Now, every course has got difficult areas, and you'll notice that calculations comes up here twice. And it's not so much that the maths is hard, because really all you're doing in engineering science that's difficult at all is rearranging formulas. But beyond that, it's actually using your head and figuring things out and then using the maths to come up with an answer. So these are challenging, but if you want to be an engineer, you have to be pretty confident in your maths. So this gives you a good insight into engineering, and it will introduce you to some things which are challenging, but that's a good thing. Well, we hope that information has been useful for you. If you'd like any further information, any other details whatsoever, please get in touch. Contact me on acunningham@hamiltoncollege.co.uk. Thanks for watching. Goodbye now.